we go. And like you were saying, on this map, your third expansion is a little bit more exposed. And keep in mind, a lot of other tournaments with Antigua Shipyard, they make it so it's only diagonal cross spawn.
Right.
And we're actually using a version of the map that allows players to spawn in any location. So this could throw some of the players off if they're not aware of this already.
Well, I know iNcontroL is aware of it.
I know, I told
him
him earlier.
We did tell him earlier. I'm sure Minigun knows as well. These players probably did all the research they needed to do getting into this game. And eventually they will find out that they did spawn here in Antigua.
And the interesting thing about that is, you know, iNcontroL actually moving a bunch of his probes onto a single patch there, and then also right-clicking his pylon, sending all of his probes off the mineral line. I think maybe a little bit shook up after that game one. Trying to maybe get his APM up a little bit, just clicking all over the place. Oh, it happens, man, especially when you're playing for this kind of a prize pool, $100,000 on the line.
And there you guys see iNcontrol's player cam right there, stretching out his wrist, making sure that everything is good to go. Quite understandable, man. We both made some great mistakes in our day.
It's part of life. It's part of StarCraft. Everybody makes mistakes.
StarCraft
it always
equals
happens.
life.
There are a lot of similarities, actually. It's pretty crazy.
You can draw similarities with StarCraft to anything. Poker, life.
Any kind of hobby that people put enough time into to become, to push themselves to that expert level, I think you can draw similarities between anything like that. I mean, chess, especially if it's an intellectual game like StarCraft, then there's just so many similarities through all kinds of other things.
I couldn't agree with you more, man.
Now, something really interesting about the spawns here is that Minigun, I would say honestly, has a slightly better position here. Because if you look at the trajectory for Minigun's expansions, he has his natural here, and then he has his third. Now, compare that to iNcontroL's natural and then iNcontroL's third. iNcontroL's third is actually going to be much more exposed than Minigun's third would be. Minigun has the option to kill those destructible rocks and really force the position at iNcontroL's third, whereas iNcontroL has to walk all the way across the map to get over to Minigun's third. So if the game goes that long, if we get to that point, I think Minigun has a slight advantage just based on spawns.
Well, as casters, it's always good to look at all possible alternatives as to how the game can end, and we got to look at the long-term aspect, as unlikely as it may be in Protoss versus Protoss, as well as the short-term aspect. So let's talk a little bit about how this game may play out on a one-base versus one-base situation. Do you think iNcontroL is going to go right into that Stargate play again?
I doubt it. Especially just based on the results of Game 1. You know, if he had gone for that Phoenix play in Game 1 and he had just absolutely devastated Minigun and had a great turnout, I think he might consider using it again, but that type of a build is something that you just absolutely look to catch somebody by surprise with and take the game and do a ton of damage, and none of those things really happened.
Yeah, unfortunately for iNcontroL, it didn't work out as planned. So we'll have to see how things go now. He's not mining off that second assimilator, just has 3 probes on that one for now. And he is saving up quite a bit of minerals. No, not going for a Nexus, warping in additional units, and here comes second and third gateway.
It's interesting that iNcontroL actually stole Minigun's gas and dropped his own second gas, but chose not to mine off of it. It seems like he's investing quite a bit of minerals in those 2 extra assimilators. That's 150 right there, and you know, he could have spent those resources elsewhere. He obviously doesn't need the gas right now, and iNcontroL going to go up to 3 gates here, so we're probably going to see some pressure out of him, and it looks like Minigun also going to do the same. So both players going up to 3 gates here. So they're not committing. Oh, there's the first Twilight Council out of Minigun. Probably going to see some Blink Stalkers here. Twilight Council down for iNcontroL as well.
So it looks like both players here are going to go for the same tech path, and they both have similar numbers of gateways as well. Quite possibly going to see Blink Stalkers here, I would imagine, simply because this map is actually really good for Blink Stalkers as well.
Now, once again here, if we look at the income tab, Minigun up by 5 probes already, and this is very early on in the game. We're only at the, 6 minute, 15 second mark.
I thought he may lose a Stalker! Great snipe by Minigun right there, so not only does he solidify his economic advantage, he also punctuates that with a kill on a Stalker.
Yeah, I agree. You know, iNcontroL pushed out a little bit too far right there, got caught a little bit off guard, wasn't 100% ready for that, and loses one of his initial Stalkers. He was also forced to warp in 2 sentries right there as a security precaution because he didn't know how many units were coming from Minigun, so he invested in these 2 additional sentries that he may or may not want right now. I'm not sure.
We'll have to see. Now, what do Protoss do, man, when they feel like they're behind?
We both know this.
Yes. Will iNcontroL decide to go for a Dark Shrine, because he certainly has that tech path open to him, and he did have a probe hiding up here as well, but it was picked off, so he's not going to be able to get a proxy pylon up.
I would imagine.
But for now, they're both going for Blink.
Well, I would imagine Minigun, knowing iNcontroL and knowing that he's a little bit ahead right now, probably going to invest in that Robo and an Observer right away.
There it is, the robotics facility on the way.
So he will grab that. He's also going to get a fourth gate here. So Minigun, not really showing any intentions of an expansion right now. I think he's really just going to try and drive this one home and take the win here in the early stages of the game. Now, iNcontroL is also going up to 4 warp gates as well. So this could actually be a blessing in disguise for Minigun, because iNcontroL is committing to a lot of units as well, so Minigun will have the production to play a defensive style if he wants, and he'll definitely be okay to the pressure from iNcontroL.
And here comes that pressure. iNcontroL going to find a better concave here against Minigun, but Minigun may have more forces. Ends up losing a Stalker, a couple force fields going down, preventing the Zealots from reaching the Stalkers and Sentries. Great play here from both players, but it looks like iNcontroL is going to be pushed back as Minigun has a pylon on the high ground.
Minigun's going to come out way ahead here. He's been blink microing very well, picks off that last Sentry and a Stalker right there, and iNcontroL is in a lot of trouble. He only has 4 Stalkers remaining. 2 additional ones get warped in back at home, but now this gives Minigun the opportunity to do what he wanted to do originally. He can continue to warp in these Stalkers. He now has an Observer out, which gives him the option of blinking up and down the cliff.
Yeah.
iNcontroL does not have that option on his end.
Yeah, more territorial control available here for Minigun, man, and iNcontroL seems to be slipping behind further and further as this game goes on. It seems like he's having a very hard time figuring out how to defeat Minigun, and here comes Minigun with the Nexus once again, realizing he is ahead. He can safely grab that expansion. It looks like both players can engage in the middle of the map. Minigun has a great surround over those Stalkers, and iNcontroL has to flee.
But iNcontroL is fleeing in the opposite direction. All of his units are actually trapped now. Minigun blinks a few of his units up on the high ground. Might have made a little bit of a mistake there. Going to get 1 Stalker picked off. 2 Stalkers will get picked off, but his army is just so much bigger. What is iNcontroL going to do here? He can't even warp in enough units to even potentially win this fight if he wanted to.
Yeah, and it looks like his only pylon here, his only source of reinforcements may get picked off at the end of the day as well. Minigun not going to commit to running up that ramp, though, even though I feel like he had more forces.
I feel like he did too. I think he's just going to bide his time, play it safe. He knows he has iNcontrol's units trapped up here, and as long as he continues to warp in enough units to control this space around the third and crush this next fight, that's really what's important here. If Minigun crushes this next fight, there's nothing iNcontroL can do to get back in this game.
I love the position I love the position this game is in right now. iNcontroL kind of finding himself surrounded at the most remote corner of the map possible. It looks like he's going to engage right here, but the concave for him is almost non-existent. And iNcontroL now being backed up to that high ground once again. I mean, he does have the potential to blink and flee away if he wanted to. He has the Observer, he has Stalkers, he can blink to the low ground. But it seems like he really wants to hold this position. And I don't know at the end of the day if that is going to be the wisest choice.
Yeah, I don't think it is either, but iNcontroL still managing to make a fight out of it, but I think this is going to be it. This is the moment where Minigun will eventually overpower him. He has no more cycles left on his gateways. He's losing a ton of Stalkers. They're all in the deep orange, deep red. Minigun just overwhelming him right here, and I don't know how iNcontroL's going to recover from this. He has no expansion.
And there's the GG. Good luck. Well played. What a game.
Wow.
Minigun is